So what were the positives and negatives about Manchester United's performance? Did Rangnick get his tactics right? Did Tottenham actually play well despite dominating possession? And how did Ronaldo save Manchester United once again? All coming up in this video. But before we get into the breakdown, if you do want to help support the channel and you also happen to need some protection for your phone, then click the link in the description to go over to El Clasico cases. They have a variety of different designs. My favourite is the Ronaldo suit celebration, which you probably would want to get after this game. For Manchester United fans, you've got the Fergie case, a Cantona kit case. But it's not just Manchester United designs, you've got loads of others. You've got Neymar, you've got Ronaldinho, Jamie Vardy, Zidane. And all priced from between £15 and £20, which is great value for something that's not only going to look great, but also protect your phone. They've even got a money back guarantee as well, so there's literally no risk. And if you use code AF at checkout, you'll also get a massive 25% off. And you will be helping to support the channel as well. So going into the game, Rangnick set up Manchester United in a 4-2-3-1 with Paul Pogba playing ahead of Fred and Matic, in behind Ronaldo, and Dalla and Rashford came back into the side on the right. Conte used his familiar 5-2-3 system, using that front three of Kane, Son and Kulusevski that was so effective against Manchester City. So from the start of the game, we saw Tottenham dropping into their vertically and horizontally compact 5-4-1 shape, which was very passive, sitting their midfield flat and narrow, allowing United to move the ball into their half before engaging. United's 4-2-3-1 would become a 2-3-4-1 in possession, with Fred pushing up between the lines alongside Pogba as Matic retained a deeper position as a single pivot in midfield. Sancho and Rashford were stretching the pitch, sitting high and wide in order to push Reguilon and Doherty back, forcing Tottenham into a flat back five. And this is exactly the right approach for playing against a 5 at the back system. If you use a wide front three as United were using, then you can create overloads in other areas of the pitch by creating a 3v5 in Tottenham's favour in their defensive third. And so this forces the midfield line to make a decision. Either Tottenham could engage United high up the pitch with one of their midfielders stepping out to apply the pressure, but that would then leave a space in behind them for the advanced midfielders Fred and Pogba to drop into. But if they were to choose to not allow this space to develop, which was what Conte's approach was, then they can have their midfield line retain positions in the midfield, but this creates greater space in front of the midfield line either side of Harry Kane. When the ball got switched to either Maguire or Varane, we would see this in action, with them having a massive amount of space and time on the ball. Against Manchester City, we did see Bentancur and Højbjerg being instructed to move out of the midfield line to close down the player on the ball, and they did do this to an extent, with Højbjerg here engaging Varane, whilst also cutting off the passing lane into Ronaldo in the half space, although Bentancur and Højbjerg weren't as quick to do this in this game, and so Maguire and Varane, or Matic if he dropped onto that left side to create a temporary back three, would have the most space on the pitch. And this is where an exceptional ball-playing centre-back or deeper line playmaker would be ideal. Varane and Maguire aren't exactly bad on the ball, as Varane showed, with a fantastic long raking pass out to Sancho on the left side within 10 minutes. However, I think Lindelof would have been much better in possession, being quicker to carry the ball forward when it was switched over to him, and being a better incisive passer, which could have aided United in getting the ball into the likes of Fred, Pogba and Ronaldo between the lines a lot quicker in the attack. Before I go any further, if you are interested in the development of Manchester United's youngsters, I do have videos analysing James Garner, Hannibal Mejbri, Charlie McNeil, Dylan Levitt and Ethan Galbraith, which will all be linked in a playlist in the description below. Early on in the game, we did see United with a fair bit of the ball, but after around the 15-minute mark, Tottenham began to control possession, and throughout the game Tottenham had the majority of the ball, having 57.1% to Manchester United's 42.9%. In possession, Tottenham's 5-2-3 would move to more of a 3-4-2-1, with the wing-backs pushing forward, the back three stretching apart to give them that wide base to then circulate the ball around Ronaldo and Pogba, and Højbjerg and Bentancur sitting as a deep double pivot, in between United's midfield and forward line, with Son and Kulusevski dropping into the half spaces in behind Fred and Matic. Now United did try to engage Tottenham high up the pitch in their 4-2-3-1 with Ronaldo leading the press and Pogba sitting on Højbjerg in behind. However, United's press wasn't as aggressive as we have seen in recent weeks, and that probably was down to Bruno Fernandes' absence, who has a lot more energy than either Pogba or Ronaldo in that front two. Fred would push up ahead of Matic to man-to-man press Bentancur as United tried to match Tottenham up in the build-up to stop them playing out, and they were reasonably successful at doing this. However, when Tottenham would work the ball into the middle third, United would abandon any press and fall into a passive 4-4-2 shape, with Pogba and Ronaldo now looking to cut the passes into the midfield double pivot, and United's backline were pushing relatively high up the pitch, trying to keep that defensive shape vertically compact and stopping the space in behind Fred and Matic from developing. Now this is a good way of stopping the opposition being able to work the ball into the players between the lines. And we did see Conte's side do a similar thing with their back five pushing high up the pitch, looking like they were trying to play an offside trap, but it has to be extremely coordinated and well organised, and we did see both sides open to getting exploited from their respective high lines. For United, it was Heung-min Son's positioning that was causing problems. Son was positioned in behind and just wide of Matic and Fred, whoever was positioned deep in midfield, and because Fred would push up alongside Pogba at times, both Kulusevski and Son had space in these pockets. When the ball would get switched out to Tottenham's right side, because United were holding such a high line, but there was relatively little pressure on the player with the ball, the constant threat was that Son was making a run off of Matic into the space between Dalot and Varane, and United had a few close calls with Son almost getting in behind Varane. To deal with this, we did see Matic dropping deeper to become almost a temporary third centre-back, in an attempt to close off the space between Dalot and Varane to stop that run being open to Son. But despite a relatively mediocre start, United got their breakthrough in the 12th minute, and it did come from Tottenham's lack of pressure on Varane in the space wide of Kane that I referred to earlier. Højbjerg is slow to push out and Fred drifts across into the space in behind him. Varane then threads the pass at the exact right time, and Fred's awareness not only of where Ronaldo is but where Bentancur is positioned behind him is top draw, and even though Kulusevski could be a lot narrower to Bentancur to potentially get to Ronaldo, I think Eric Dyer has to move earlier out of that back line to close down Ronaldo, as Tottenham are playing with three centre-backs. And as Ronaldo, the centre forward, has dropped off, Dyer has to know that Tottenham have adequate cover in behind him to deal with Fred and Pogba's movement forward. He doesn't, which is a minor mistake against most players, but against Ronaldo it's deadly, as he drives the ball into the net past Lloris, giving United the lead. Now it was after the opening goal when Tottenham actually started to control possession a lot more, and they did get the equaliser when Jadon Sancho got beaten too easily in a 1v1 against Kulusevski on the left side, and the Ginger Swede's cross hit Telles' hand, giving Kane the chance from the spot, and he took it as gratefully as Luke Shaw taking the last Yorkshire pudding at the Manchester United pre-match buffet. Despite Tottenham's dominance in possession, I thought they could have created more, certainly in the first half. Conte's side did record an XG of 1.53 to Manchester United 0.79 going into half time, but Kane's penalty made up 0.76 of that, meaning that Tottenham had a non-penalty XG of 0.77, lower than Manchester United despite having significantly more of the ball. And this wasn't because they weren't getting into good areas, as I felt United invited Tottenham onto them far too much because of their passive defending in their own half. And I thought Romero and Bentancur's long passing from deep positions was excellent, with Bentancur in particular playing a number of long raking passes out to the right side. However, when Tottenham got into these wide positions, I thought they lacked quality. Both Doherty and Reguilón were quite poor throughout the game in these crossing positions. I also thought that Tottenham didn't utilise their front three enough in central areas. With Fred pushing up and leaving Matic isolated, it seemed like the perfect opportunity for Tottenham to try to work the ball into Kulusevski and Son between the lines, or even better, get Kane dropping into those half spaces, dragging the centre-backs out of the back line and allowing Kulusevski or Son to make those runs in behind. We did see Tottenham do this once in the first half when Kane dropped off and Kulusevski made a movement in behind and was found by Kane's well-weighted through pass. However, Tottenham didn't do this enough throughout the game. In the second half, their equalising goal came from utilising Kane's link play. Romero strode forward with the ball and fed a fantastic pass into Kane, who held off Varane well and then did brilliantly to get the ball back to Romero, who shifted it out to Son, and then from here Reguilón is wide open on the overlap, and as the ball goes out to him, I think Maguire has to move his feet quicker in order to get across the front post. As soon as Son receives the ball, you know where the next pass is going to go, and whilst Maguire can't drop until the pass is played in order to preserve the defensive line, he has to be ready to make the move as soon as the pass gets played. He moves like he has bricks on his feet, and Reguilón's low cross is perfect, and Maguire on the stretch can't do much apart from putting it in his own net. Now that did come in the second half, but in the first half, United were able to expose Tottenham's overly high defensive line. You can see here that Matic has the ball inside the Tottenham half, and given that he's able to turn on the ball and then he's about to play a pass, the Tottenham backline is far too high, just inviting that delicate lob over to Sancho, who's being kept onside by Reguilón on the far side, who doesn't get up in time to play the offside trap. Sancho's control, composure and technique to race through is fantastic. Ronaldo has already anticipated the situation and he's made his move before Davies can react. Sancho's weight of pass across the box is perfect, and Ronaldo finishes past Lloris, putting United back into the lead. Now despite the result, I thought United played poorly throughout most of the game, game, I thought Rangnick had instructed the side to be far too passive out of possession, against a Tottenham side who aren't exactly known for dominating the ball in big games. It felt like Rangnick was overly concerned with Tottenham's front three, running rings around United's back line, and you can understand why. If United had looked to press as aggressively as they did against Leeds and Brighton, there would have been a lot more space in behind the midfield for Kane to drop into. And like what happened at the start of last season, you could easily see Son and Kulusevski racing beyond United's backline and being found by Kane's through balls. However, although this didn't happen, Rangnick's game plan just caused other problems. More specifically, it caused United to drift through the game. And with this United side, you always expect them to concede goals through individual mistakes, and so sitting deep and passive almost felt like it was guaranteeing Tottenham chances. And to be honest, they didn't get as many as I thought they would do after watching the first 20 minutes, but I think that was more down to Tottenham's own failings rather than United defending particularly brilliantly. But once again, it was Ronaldo who saved the day. His first was the most spectacular, his second came from his predatory instinct and poacher-like finishing, and his third showed his offensive aerial ability and athleticism to get ahead of the pack and plant the header firmly into the net, confirming that the only time the words Ronaldo and finished should be in the same sentence is when describing a chance he's just buried. However, in reality, Ronaldo's brilliance is masking the cracks in United's wall. Individually, I thought Pogba, Sancho, Ronaldo and Fred all played extremely well, linking excellently when United transitioned the attack quickly, and I think other than Ronaldo, Fred was probably the man of the match. His energy and dynamism in midfield was fantastic, winning the ball back and then driving the attack forward with his forward passing, and I'd go as far to say that him alongside Jadon Sancho are the most improved players under Rangnick. Rangnick's game plan is still unconvincing to me, which just shows the difference between a decent manager and a top level manager, which is why I will be doing an in-depth video soon on who I would pick to be United's next manager out of Erik ten Hag or Pochettino, or maybe an outside option as well. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell for that, give the video a like, check the videos in the description, and if you do want one of those phone cases, I'll also leave it linked in the description below. If you use code AF at checkout, you'll also get 25% off.